everyone to welcome everyone to our fourth and final Meet the Teachers for the 2025 Minnesota Quilt Show. Tonight we have Kathy Belts, MJ Kidman, and Rachel Clark here to tell us a bit about their classes, their lectures, and anything else they're offering, which in the case of Rachel is a fashion show on Thursday. So we're excited about that too. Um, we're going to get started. I'll ask you all to mute while each instructor is doing their presentation. And at the end of each instructor's presentation, you can unmute and ask them questions in particular. So I think we'll go ahead and get started with Kathy.
Hi everyone. My name's Kathy Belts. I live in Greenfield, New Hampshire, which is in South Central New Hampshire. I'm really excited about coming to the show this year and teaching some of my classes. Just a little bit about me. I have been quilting for 30 years. I've been teaching for 21 years, and I'm also a quilt judge. I've been judging for about 17 years. Back in 2013, I was trained by Deb Tucker in the tools and techniques of her company, Studio 180 Design. And back in 2017, I launched my own line of quilt patterns called Kathy Belts Quilt Designs. So that's a little bit about me. I'm going to tell you about my classes that are coming up at the show. On Wednesday, the 18th, we're going to be doing spinning pinwheels. I'm going to stand up now. And this is a sample. So this is one of Deb Tucker's patterns that uses the Tucker trimmer. This is a really cool pattern. I love it. You make these blocks. Let's do it this way. We make these blocks using the Tucker trimmer and making the combination block. What's really cool about this particular pattern is that you make 2 blocks at a time. When you make these combination blocks here, that you come out with mirror images. So one comes out with a light background and one comes out with a dark background. So you're making 2 blocks at a time. So it goes together pretty fast. So that is spinning pinwheels. And then my Thursday class is my revamped denim jacket. This is such a fun class. So just a little bit, you can buy a new jacket. You can take one of your old favorites, and we're going to be making this design on the back of our jacket. And I think you can see it. Let me take it off and make sure you can see it, get a good shot of it. But this is basically just flying geese. And I'm going to give you all the tips and tricks on how to make the perfect flying geese to get this to lay out properly. So that is revamped denim. We're doing that on Thursday the 19th. Then on Friday, we are doing abstraction. This is abstraction class right here. This is a really cool pattern. It looks really complicated, but it's actually made out of 3 different kinds of 4-patch blocks. And then there's some strip piecing to get these outside pieces. It's actually easy to make. It's a little time consuming because it's so big, but it's basically 4 patches. It's going to go together in chunks, which is really cool. And I just love the optical illusion of the circles that it creates. Then on Saturday, we'll be doing my Rainbow Drops class, which is this pattern right here. This is a great scrap buster class, great for scraps. It's also charm pack friendly. So if you've got some charm packs laying around that you don't know what to do with, this is a really great class for charm packs. So I'm really looking forward to seeing you in June at the show. If you have any questions, please feel free to speak up.
I have a question.
Yes.
In the instructions, it said 13 fat quarters in medium and dark, and your background.
Is that for spinning pinwheels?
For spinning pinwheels, yes.
Yes.
Can you do the opposite? Can you do your fat quarters in light and medium and do your background in dark?
It depends. on how you're going to choose your fabrics. Remember, as I said, when you're making the blocks, you're making two at a time. So one's going to be light and one's going to be dark.
Right.
So think about, it goes this way. Think about where you want those, how they're going to flip if you're going to change them out.
Okay.
Just keep that in mind. So it gives the right illusion that you wanted to give.
Okay.
Consider where your darks and lights are going to be.
Okay.
Okay, so if you need, I think you have a picture of the quilt. If you need a better
Yes.
picture, just let me know.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions?
I'm just curious, do you need to buy the special ruler for the class?
Oops, you're muted, Kathy. I don't know what happened.
I didn't touch it, I swear. Okay.
Okay.
There's a 4-patch tool that goes for this pattern. There's a wing clipper for the denim jacket. And the Rainbow Drops does not have a tool for it.
Will you have the tools with you?
I will. They will be available.
Okay. And I had a question on the revamped denim. Is there any deconstruction of the jacket, or does that just go
No,
on
you're
top?
just applying it to the top of the jacket and then quilting them together.
Okay.
So you're going to make like a miniature quilt top, turn under the sides and quilt it to the jacket.
Okay, perfect.
Any other questions? If you think of something later, please feel free to contact me, email me, Kathy@kathybelts.com, and I'd be happy to answer any of your questions.
Sure.
I
And you can
I
always
have
email faculty and we'll get back to you too.
Yes,
I have a quick question.
yes.
My grandson is not a super beginner, but he's an experienced beginner, I guess, if that's a term.
Confident
And he
beginner.
wants to, yeah, he wants to do the one behind you. Is that reasonable?
Yes.
Okay,
Just let them know. Like I said, it's an easy class because it's basically 4 patches. It's just time consuming. I mean, you're going to get the 3 basic blocks done in class, but getting the top done is going to take some time when you get home.
okay,
So it's just going to take him a little bit of time. Let him know that ahead of time that he's not going to finish it in class.
right. Okay,
But
great.
yeah, sure. It's a 4-patch. He can definitely handle a 4-patch.
Thank you. He can.
Anybody else? Okay, great. We will pass the baton over to the next teacher.
Thank you very much, Kathy. And
Sure.
next up, we have MJ Kinman.
Hello, everybody. It's good to see you. I'm MJ Kinman from Louisville, Kentucky. And I'm thrilled to be able to come up to Minnesota and teach. You know, I wish I were 3 people so I could teach my classes, go to Kathy's classes, and go to Rachel's class. I definitely want to make a Rachel coat one day. So I'm going to be in one of your classes soon, lady. It's good to be here. We're going to be doing a bunch of classes. We're doing 3 classes and I'm doing 2 lectures. But the other thing that I have been invited to do is an exhibit. So when you come, I'll have an exhibit of some of my diamond quilts right here that will be there. So we'll talk more about how I make the quilts and that kind of thing, but that's very exciting. I have given all of my samples away except this one. So I do have a little bit of a PowerPoint presentation just to kind of tweak and kind of tease you a little bit about what we're going to be looking at. So if I may, let me go ahead and share my screen. I think this is it. There we go. Could I get a thumbs up from
Yep.
hang on, hang on. Oh, there we go. That you say color play, right? Wonderful.
Yes.
Okay. So the first class I'm going to be teaching is called Color Play Beyond Color Theory. And the lecture I'm going to be doing is also this subject matter. This subject matter is all about color and beyond the color wheel. We're going to start with the color wheel, but then we're going to, I'm going to stop share real quick. But then we're going to go into something deeper because here's the deal. Regardless of where I'm at or what class I've walked into, I always have someone who comes up to me in my classes and says, I'm not good with color, or color and I don't get along. I'm going to need some help. Will you help me? And I'm like, of course, yes. And so that seems to be a theme that runs through the classes, that people seem to find color intimidating. And I totally get it, because the great artist educator of the 20th century named Joseph Albers, he was the guy who started the Bauhaus movement in Germany, and then the Nazis came and he's like, I am out of here, came to the United States and taught at Black Mountain School. He wrote a book called The Interaction of Color. And his premise was colors fluctuate depending on what you put next to them. And he based his work on the work of a gentleman, and I'll talk about this in just a second, in the early 1800s, believe it or not. And there's 3 rules, and I've added 1 rule to it. Talk about hubris, right? But there's 4 rules that if you know these rules, you literally can anticipate how color is going to try to trick you, because color is tricky. And that's what Joseph Albers said, color deceives continuously. And so my class color play gives you the inside skinny of how color tries to deceive us, or actually it's our brain, how our brain tries to deceive us regarding color. Let me go ahead and put this back up. So it's called Color Play, Beyond Color Theory. And this actually is going to be the subject of my second book, called Cracking the Color Code, Master the Magic of Color Interaction. Color interaction, color interacting with other colors. That's the key here. And so we're going to talk about those rules. And first of all, this is Joseph Albers and his wonderful book called The Interaction of Color, published by Yale Press in 1963. It's an incredible book. It's small. You can probably find it just about anywhere. And it's a beautifully written book. He wrote it like poetry. The way he writes is in stanzas. And I fell in love with that when I first saw that. But this is Joseph Albers. And by the way, his wife, Annie Albers, was a great textile artist as well. Really an amazing woman. And so what he said is that colors, we almost never see a single color unconnected and unrelated to others. Colors present themselves in continuous flux, constantly related to changing neighbors and changing conditions. So our concern is the interaction of color, seeing what happens between colors. And he basically said color deceives continuously. Now, I don't know about you, but many, many years ago, I lost 5 precious months of my life dating a guy who continuously deceived me, right? This is the guy who he fooled around with other women. He stole money from me, and he actually loaned out my car to other people without my permission. And whenever I would call him out on it, he would say that I was the problem. I was needy, I was bossy, I was controlling, et cetera, et cetera. Bottom line is he gaslighted me. And so I know about how human beings can gaslight a person. Color can gaslight you too, which is why we have this incredible concern with it. And it's a trickster. But we're going to talk about how you can get in front of that and understand how it's going to trick you, so you can actually plan for how you're going to manage that in your quilts. The gentleman from the early 1800s, his name was Michel Eugene Chevreul. And this, isn't he adorable? He's just adorable. When the average lifespan was 41 years old back in the early 1800s, he lived to 103. Obviously, color does good things to people. And his premise was, when the eye views 2 colors in close proximity, it adjusts to make them as dissimilar as possible. When the eye perceives two colors in close proximity, it adjusts to make them as dissimilar as possible. And there's specific ways that it talks about how to make them as dissimilar as possible. And so we're going to talk about those 4 rules. There's just 4 rules that I'm going to share with you. You can write them down. You can take a picture of the screenshot. It's all good. And using those rules, I'm going to talk about in this class how to make your quilt sparkle with value contrast, how to build, how to create amazing focal points, how to create visual movement, how to create a shimmering effect throughout your quilt, how to create metallic effects without using metallic fabric or thread. And that's all with value contrast, part of one of his rules. The second rule has to do with saturation contrast. And this is where we're going to talk about how to make your quilts glow like they're lit from within. I'm going to talk about that in just a second. Excuse me. Coming off the flu, guys. Sorry about that. The cough is the last thing to go. Also going to talk about how to add depth to your quilts with transparency. And then the coolest thing, how to manipulate color using the law of simultaneous contrast, meaning how we can make one color look like two and 2 colors look similar to one another just by pairing them with different colors. And so the whole thing about glow hit me when I was, in my backyard. This is the a pond in my backyard over on the left where we have these arrowheads, and they looked like when I sat out there with my coffee in the morning and the sun shines through, I just felt like it looked like those arrowheads were lit from within. And similarly, in the front yard, we have this cherry tree in the fall that turns this beautiful yellow, and it looks like they're lit from within. Artists have known how to do this for many, many years. Here's an example by Adam Clegg called Cara Cara Core. And doesn't that look like it's lit from within? I'm going to show you how to do that in your quilts with color, with fabric, okay? We're also going to talk about the 3 cues to creating credible transparencies. It includes alignment, middle mixture, and depth order. All right, so we're going to talk about that. And then we'll also talk about, and by the way, here's also one of the clues or one of the rules of what they talk about regarding what colors come together. So this is a picture of the old guitar player by Pablo Picasso. And what do you see here? You see this old sad guy. He's really getting into his music, and he's got this beautiful gray hair, and he's got a blue shift on. He's in a blue background. He's sitting in kind of a blue area, and he's strumming his brown guitar, right?
Mhm.
Are you sure? Brown guitar? When you put this in an image editing app, the guitar is green. This guitar is green. And so I'm going to explain why it looks brown to us and our eyes, but in fact, it's green. And these are the things that you can learn to make your own wonderful quilts. Okay, so that's the magic of color interaction, the class and the lecture. One of my favorite classes to talk about, this is Dames and Diamonds, quilt patterns inspired by incredible beauty. I'm just a geek. All right. I'm a history geek. I'm a quilt geek. I'm a gem geek. And so a couple of years ago, when the world shut down, I started a subscription program called Diamonds and Drama Queens. And we talked about famous people and the gems they owned. And the first one I'm going to talk about is Doris Duke. She had incredible jewels. And one of them was an old-fashioned antique cut gemstone. This is in a lovely Art Deco. And this is the quilt pattern that I made that honors Doris Duke, who is incredibly famous and has this huge history. Probably the term "poor little rich girl" was developed for her. So this is one of the quilts that we're one of the designs we're going to be doing in my class. And then we're going to be talking about the Clark Pink. Isn't this a gorgeous gemstone? This is a 9 carat, so she's a monster. 9 carat, cushion cut pink diamond. Now, pink, purple, and red diamonds are very rare. They still don't know why they are pink, purple, and red. They know why blue diamonds are blue and green diamonds are green and yellow diamonds are yellow. They just don't know yet why pink diamonds are pink, and I love that. And so this was owned by a woman named Uget Clark. She's the richest woman in the world you've never heard of. She was a woman who lived in America. She lived to 105. She had houses and mansions around the United States and gems. And you know what? She cared for none of that. She lived the last 20 years of her life in a hospital room under an assumed name, surrounded by her porcelain dolls. I love this story. I can't wait to tell it to you. And this is the quilt block that we're going to make. This is the Clark Pink that I've designed for her. One of my lectures is called the Smithsonian Series, National Treasures, and it's all about these fabulous gems called, for example, the Logan Sapphire, the Carmen Lucia Ruby, the Annenberg Hooker Emerald, and of course, the Hope Diamond. And here is a gem that I made. It was called the Whitney Flame Topaz. She was beautiful, and I decided to make her 10 feet tall and 4.5 feet wide because why not? She's just gorgeous and deserved it. And so that is an example of some of the classes I'm going to be doing and the lectures I'm going to be doing. I hope you join me. It's going to be great fun. I love teaching, and I can't wait to come up to your part of the world. Any questions?
Great. Thank you, MJ. I'm going to look in the chat. Does anyone have any questions? I'm not seeing anything and nothing in the chat. So
Okay. Well, I'll see you. I'll see you later on this year in Minnesota.
yeah, thank you so much for a very informative presentation too. And thanks. Next up, we'll have Rachel Clark. Oh, we have to unmute you. Hang on.
She has to unmute.
Yes, you have to unmute yourself. There
Did
you
that
go.
do? I believe
Yeah.
that did it. Okay. I'm Rachel Clark. I live in Watsonville, California, and I am a quilt maker who is also a garment maker. I feel that I'm equally engaged in both of those things. I can't say when I started out that I started out as a quilt maker or that I started out as a garment maker. I did make garments, but I also made quilts. And one day I just decided to combine the two things. So I consider myself very much a folk artist when I describe myself. And I consider myself a folk artist because I have taken what I consider two separate, different disciplines, and I've married them to create the particular art form of craft that I do. I am excited about coming to Minnesota, and I wanted to make sure that I had all my little stuff engaged, and so that I would know what I wanted to talk about in terms of my class. My first class that I'm going to be teaching is fast piecing as Seminole, with Seminole. And I like doing what I call building your toolbox. And for me, Seminole becomes one of those techniques that I can use in many different ways. I took my first Seminole class over 30 years ago, and I fell in love with the technique, but not the scale of Seminole. Seminole in itself is very tiny, and I knew that I wanted to use it for in my garment making or my quilt making. And so I've spent the last several years just exploring and creating different Seminole bands. So for the class, I am going to have probably about 7, 8 bands, And I will send out, make sure that you get I don't know how well you can see it, but you don't really need to see it because you get it 2 weeks before the class, a cutting chart. And so I will have chosen the bands that we will make in class. Since this is a 3-hour class, I would probably limit it to about no more than 7 bands. And I want to definitely appeal to you that if you decide to take this class, that when I send a cutting chart out, that you get the homework done, because it's more, you can get more done if you come to class with your bands cut and sewn together. And so that's that. The first class is the Seminole class. My second class is the coat making class. And so what I did, when I send out the information or people get the information, I talk about in terms of getting started. And more than likely, I can guarantee you that in 2 days, you will not get a coat made. But what I want you to think about is that, what is your story? What are you going to have your coat say? So I took out a variety of garments that I want to show you. And I'm just going to do a very short spiel. This is one where I use techniques. And so this coat is made using Seminole piecing and creating Seminole bands. And this is one of my classes in Seminole is that I teach is called What You Can Do with 2 Strips. And so this coat is a sample of what you can do with 2 strips. This other coat is my watermelon coat. I have this thing about making social statements or comments. And I have a lot of fun with playing with watermelons and that kind of thing. So this is one you can decide that you want to. It also covers that showing off the fabric. There's about 7 different watermelon fabrics that makes up this coat. But then the back of it, there is a long watermelon slice that have been pieced and stitched, hand quilted with seed beads with watermelon beads on it, which is Czechoslovakian glass beads that look like watermelon seeds. And so that's the back of this coat. You can also think in terms of political or social. This is systemic. It's a coat that I made. I'm doing a small series. It's more like a triptych. I'm doing 3 coats in this series. And the first one was Black Lives Matter. This one is that it's systemic. And I have another one that I want to do as part of that series. So you can do something that has a political or social message that you might want to share or have. You can also decide that you're going to do something that is, I'm going to move this one, change places with this guy. And that is just totally fun, whimsical. This is Swine Soiree. It has little pig faces and rick-rack and hand. I started out with a pig in the back. Just as I love playing with the symbols of watermelons and stuff, pigs are one of my favorite animals. I have decided that pigs are my spirit animal. And so I go back to that imagery from time to time. As a matter of fact, in the watermelon coat, it's called actually Pig in a Watermelon Patch, and it has a pig that's appliqué on the base of it. The other thing that I'm going to be, and that's part of getting you started and thinking about what you might want to do with your coat, or make a statement of your own creativity, tell your story, how you want to tell, and embrace your inner artist and let your coat speak for itself. So that's what in terms of the coat class. So come prepared. We will do some exercises in terms of getting you started. If you have some particular technique that you want to do in your coat. So that class usually start off with a lecture, and then from there we do fabric sorting and to get you going. And I just don't want you to come thinking that you're going to leave in 2 days with a coat finished. The last thing I want to talk about is that my lecture is going to be a fashion. My lecture is always a fashion show. And so it's going to be about ethnic or ethnic inspired garments. I don't do so many ethnic garments per se anymore. I do garments that are inspired by ethnic things, like whether it's the fabric or whether it's the shape, or whether it's some things that comes from a particular culture. So this one here is molas. And so the coat is, I've started out with some molas that was made especially for me. And I decided that I was going to put them in the coat, and they're mola pigs. I didn't have enough to do the whole garment in mola pigs. So I ended up incorporating some of the molas that I had collected over the years in terms of another thing. I like using different ethnic fabrics as I create my garments. So I will be bringing garments that will reflect the use of different ethnic fabrics. I will also have things where I'm very much into, I'm a quilter. So I also do garments that will reflect that in terms of that I'm using something as simple as, or as common or ordinary as quilt blocks to help tell the story. And I quite often go to quilt blocks, even when I'm making other garments that makes a social or political or statement, is that I like to bring in quilt blocks and honor that tradition. And because I'm very proud of and very pleased about being a quilter. And so I look forward to coming and sharing my knowledge, my information, and I look forward to having fun with the people that show up at the convention. And I sure hope that there is a room, because I would love to take that, go to that MJ's color lecture, because that really excites me, because I love color as well. And I do color in terms, I think of myself as very intuitive about color, but the more that I can learn about why certain things work would certainly be wonderful. So I hope I have an opportunity not only to come and share what I know, but to partake of some of the other activities that are going on there at the quilt show. So I now will take questions.
I have a couple of questions for you, in particular about the fashion show. We have a
Yes.
number of people who are quite excited about it, and then you had sent us your parameters for what the models should be in terms of sizes. And I just wanted to know how strict that was.
It's not really that strict. The only thing that I really would appreciate, that more than that anything, is that people wear either black and white or black or all one color. And when I say all one, it just can be solids. It can, they can wear black and red, or as long as it's solid. What the thing that frustrates me the most is when people show up and they got on a lot of ruffles and big florals and stuff, and then try to wear one of the coats. The fight that takes place when
it detracts from the garment. Yes.
But as far as the site, the other people that is the most difficult to fit. But one of the things that I have done in the past is that I have sort of allowed people, if they feel comfortable going out in something that's slightly too small for them, I'm okay with that, because I want them to be comfortable. And but the hardest people is people who has oversized boots. I mean, that's the if you're like a 44D, you ain't getting in the coat. I mean, so that's the only thing that you need to keep in mind. But people that are, just sort of average bust, size 16, or sometimes of people that are quite tall that they may wear oversized, they can get into them as well. And so I'm not that rigid about it. The only thing that I just feel the most about is that people wear solid colors.
Okay. Okay, that's good. And I will tell people, if they're not sure whether they fit the parameters, they should just listen to this lecture and hear your take on it.
Yeah. Yes. Well, like I said, the people that's most difficult is the people that, that is well endowed. Obviously I'm not. So I make most of the stuff I make that fits me, but I also stuff that's oversized. So they can fit up to, I've had people up to a size 16. Some 18s have gotten into some of the boxy coats. So I just think that people just need to keep that in mind, that 12s, 10s, 12s, 14, 16s probably fit the best.
Okay, great. And now a little bit about the coat class. I think you mentioned that you have a pattern, but people can also bring their own pattern.
Oh, I encourage, one of the things I do have pattern. I do, well, actually I only have one pattern now because I'm sold out of my patterns. But I only have the A-line coat. But I encourage people to bring a pattern that they are comfortable wearing. So that if you know that you like more of a fitted garment, then you want to bring the pattern for that kind of garment. I want people to make what you're going to wear. So that if you like, a boxy coat, and a boxy coat is just a straight coat. If you like a boxy coat, then bring a boxy coat pattern. If you like a flared coat or a swing coat, then bring a swing coat or, a pattern. But you want to make the coat you want to make is the coat you're going to wear.
And would you recommend they have already fitted the pattern and everything first?
Yeah, if they have fitted the pattern, that would be absolutely wonderful. But the one thing that I do want them to do is that if they have fitted the pattern, is to bring it in a muslin, because let me grab something here.
Okay.
I have them work on a muslin foundation. So what they do is that they build their elements, and then they attach those elements to a muslin foundation. And that muslin foundation that they attach them to is what their patterns that have been fitted and taken apart, and then they're going to work directly on that muslin foundation.
That's good.
That makes perfect sense.
Yep.
And so people should probably already have a little bit of knowledge of pattern making too, and fitting.
Well, yes, but sometimes they don't. And when they come to class, I don't mind. I will take part of the morning. I will do the way the class usually work is that I do a lecture, and that's usually about an hour, 45 minutes to an hour. And then after that, I will talk about their fabric. And so I will have them lay their fabric out, and we go through their fabric, talk about what's missing, what they want to add. They kind of give me a sense of what they want to do. And then after that, and after we've gone through everybody's fabric, and I invite everybody to look at everybody's fabric. I don't encourage people to sew while we're doing that process. I do an exercise in terms of building an idea of how to tell a story. And after that, if people have some issues around their fitting, I really do like to take some time and help them if they come. But it's so much better, even if they have not done the fitting, if they just bring their muslin that they have cut it out.
Okay, perfect.
It's preferable if they have done the fitting, but if they have not, I can help with that.
Great. That sounds wonderful. So the instructions about the muslin are in the class supply list. I don't remember that, but
it may not have been there. So I can send you kind of an addendum, because
okay.
Most of the time I don't have that in there. I just basically have them bring their muslin and because I usually do, multiple day classes, but I can send you a follow-up. I'll have Grace send it to you in the next day or so, next week, because tomorrow is Friday. And just say that it would be helpful if they have their muslin cut out and fitted before class.
That would be wonderful. That's great. Yeah.
Yeah, not a problem.
Okay. Any other questions for Rachel or anyone else?
Yep, there's one in the chat.
Oh, okay. Oh, it says, are your coats quilted or pieced and lined?
Yes, my coats are, I pieced on a foundation, and then once I get the foundation piece, I have all the parts done. I'm going to step off camera again. Great. I'm working on this, and so I'm up to the point. So this is the back has been completed, and this is the one front, and this is the other front that's completed, and the two sleeves are completed. Now, on this particular garment, I am not going to be doing any handwork. If I was going to be doing handwork, if I was going to embellish it with beads or handwork or stitching, anything like that, I would do that now. But since I'm not going to do that with this garment, I'm now going to switch to being a dressmaker. So I will get my pattern, go get my guide sheet, and get my lining cut. And I was a quilter or a piecer.
Mm-hmm.
After this, everything has been trued up against the muslin or my pattern. And so now I am ready to switch over to being a dressmaker. So I will start at being a dressmaker, and I will line it. I will cut my lining. That reminds me, my lining is in the dryer. I need to go do that. I will then cut my lining and then put it together, and it will be full. I don't use batting in my garments. So there are three, all of these, like this one, you can tell there is a lot of stitching, a lot of hand stitching, quilting. So it was in this stage where I did all of that hand quilting and stitching.
Great. Wonderful explanation. Thank you.
Yes. Okay.
Rachel, you're a gem.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I just
Well,
want,
I'm excited about it. So it's
Lots
fun.
of people are excited about, yes, your class and the fashion show. Should be fun.
Yes. Well, I will hopefully will have something. I am going to have to talk to MJ about some of those emeralds, because my birthday is in May. And this year I am going to make myself an emerald coat.
Oh.
And so I cannot, and I had her pattern. I've had it dragging around for the longest time. For the life of me, I cannot figure out where I have put it. So I'm going to have to talk to MJ about getting a pattern, because I am going to show up with my emerald coat on.
Rachel, I will send you one. I will send you a pattern. And by the way, are you familiar with a gem called watermelon tourmaline?
Oh, yes, ma'am. I'm familiar
Okay.
with pretty much anything that. Have you done a pattern for that?
I need to make one, but they're from Maine and they're gorgeous. My mama had one. You need to have a watermelon tourmaline. There you go.
Yeah.
Yep. I need one.
I totally agree with you on that.
Okay. All right.
I need one in my life. But
Okay.
I can't wait until you do a pattern in it, because I think that would be absolutely wonderful.
Okay.
And I'm excited to see. I am so, that what was that jewel that you did that was 10 feet?
It was an imperial topaz in red, saturated red. It's called the Whitney Flame Topaz in the Smithsonian.
That is so incredible. All I could see, a lot of people see things and they see a quilt. All I could see is that baby in the back of a coat. I mean, that which is like,
Okay. I could shrink her down a little bit. There you go. Okay.
Oh.
All right. Wonderful. Well, thank you, everyone. And someone asked if we're still looking for models, and yes, we are. And just send me an email and I will send you the Rachel had put together a little sheet that just says the suggestions for the different sizes. So yes, please send it to faculty@mnquilt.org. Thank
I-
you.
okay. Well, it should be fun.
Yep.
we're
Will do.
looking forward to everyone and lots of classes. And thank you all for your participation. It was a wonderful evening.
I
Well,
just wanted to add a quick thing, and
Yes.
that is about the fashion show. Um, that is on Thursday evening, and it's more than a lecture. It is a dessert with a cash bar, and so it is an event, and will be in the ballroom
oh,
at the. So it's a big deal, and
all
very
right.
excited.
That sounds fun. Sounds fun. So,
It'll be a
okay.
fun evening. Great
Yes.
time together.
Okay. Well, thank you for having us. And for somebody who whined in coming, I had a great time.
Well, we're so glad you could make it. And thank you, MJ and Kathy. Have a great evening. Thank you very much.
Okay. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.